everything.
Absolutely. Like your ability to perceive things is context dependent.
Yeah,
So you
I
can't
agree.
actually perceive anything without there being some sort of context to the thing you're perceiving.
Yeah, it's like the mini universe theory. Like
Which
you're
that's
your
really,
own universe.
Well, no, like when you see a color orange and you see a color that's dark brown, that's the same wavelength of light that's hitting your eye. It's depends on how much light is in the room though, right?
Right.
Like if you're in a very well lit room, that wavelength hitting your eye is going to make that item look dark brown. But if you're in a room that's not well lit, you can get hit with that same wavelength of light and perceive it as bright orange. Because your brain goes, oh, there's no lights going on in this room. I can't see shit. Since I can see that, it must be bright orange. Or your brain's like, oh, this room is so well lit. I'm still seeing this color. That's not bright orange in this lit room. That's dirt brown.
Interesting. I've never heard color theory explained like that
That's
so well.
very cool, yeah.
I think my brain works a little more like yours, so that helps me understand. I don't get color,
Like-
dude. I am like a dude when it
Well,
comes
no,
to
no,
color.
It's not just color.
It's everything.
it's
I understand the
sound
metaphor.
and touch. Like, and it gets even more complicated because your brain, it has no ability to perceive things continuously. Like, you experience the world continuously, but you
Like,
don't
almost like
actually
slides.
perceive them continuously, right? Your brain
Months.
perceives something and then it takes time for your brain to process it. And while that time is occurring, your brain is using statistics to make up what is happening.
Wow.
You're
True.
imagining
Yeah.
every other second
No,
of what
that's-
you're experiencing.
That's definitely true. It's like how I evaluate people and read their emotion is just like statistics and, you know, there's only so many people, so many emotions.
I
you
love
can
how
have
we
at one
each
time.
got such different things from that. I'm like, that's why we can manifest everything we want because we
Yes.
create our reality and we live in moments. I'm over here in like woo-woo land. We're
Yeah.
like, yes, that's how people function and that's how I read body language. I'm so big. I love you.
I love that.
And people were like, I don't know how I heard this when you said this. And I'm like, no, you
Because
didn't
everything
hear
is
it.
relative.
You just- You
just
decided
accept
that's what
everything
you
is
wanted to hear.
You just accept it.
We just proved it too. Okay. I love it.
Anyway, welcome to Know or Not to Know.
Welcome. What a great start. We're getting
Yeah.
we're comfortable. This is Nick 007 Bonds. He's currently running for Democratic primaries. We hope for him to be running as Senate after the primaries, so please get your votes in.
Mhm.
I recently learned I get to vote in the Democratic primaries. I was turned away as an independent voter by the Republicans once, and I was very sour. I recently learned the Democrats are nice enough to include me. So I will be casting my vote towards him. I'm glad to learn more about him. And Raquel will be pushing a little bit harder because, as you know, she probably has a hard time with his ways, but that's okay.
And as a Republican, I am not allowed to. Apparently, according to the rules, isn't it? That you're not. I can't cast a vote.
That's not true.
Yeah. No,
With-
just in the
with-
primaries?
No, the Democrats have open primaries.
Okay.
So anyone,
Okay.
even Republicans, can vote in Democratic
Oh, what I read
primaries.
today must have been
You-
outdated because I read that they
So-
included independent registered voters, but they still had the Republicans left out. That's now changed?
So the Republicans have closed primaries,
Yes,
which
I knew
means
that.
you have to be a registered Republican
Uh-huh.
long before the primaries are open. But if you're a Republican, you can still go into the primaries, ask for a Democratic ballot. It will register you as a Democrat when you use that Democratic ballot,
Oh, okay.
but you
I
can
see.
vote in the Democratic primary and then just change your affiliation right back.
Would you? Your affiliate? That feels a little flip floppy.
An honest politician,
But we'll-
guys.
We'll see. We'll see if he can change my mind.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm
Okay.
excited about that. Raquel's going to start off with our hardest hitting question of tonight. Just get the hard stuff out of the way.
How
Mhm.
exciting.
So,
Are you more of a cat or a dog person?
I have lots of cats.
Okay.
I trained one to be a diabetic alert cat.
how amazing. amazing.
Very cool.
It took a lot of turkey.
I heard cats are much more difficult to train. I'm a dog trainer, so I am myself a dog person, but I do respect cats are so spiritual.
Well, to train the cats, you have to wait until the cat exhibits a behavior and then capitalize on that behavior.
Oh, so they're like children.
Yes.
You can't entrain the cat to develop that behavior. You have to wait for the behavior.
You just have to reward the good behavior when you see it.
Yes.
But you're not gonna get them to do the behavior without their willingness. I see.
No, it's the cat's decision to be trained. You don't get to train the cat. The cat decides they're going to offer you the opportunity to train them, and you must act on it.
They are definitely kids then.
That's amazing.
Specifically like preteens.
Oh. Well handled.
Okay, so you want to go off with your questions? We got no cards because we're cheaters, folks. We can't memorize.
We're also trying to quote you beautiful community members who were kind enough to give us your questions, so.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest, I have an okay memory. Gosh.
I will fully admit that I need these cards.
So, Tracy B asked, what actual life experience do you have to offer? So, before you answer, she did give some context. She said, how I thought when I was young and single is completely different than how I think now, having been a parent and a wife, living long enough to see the lies and promises of the government. I can't say I disagree with Tracy, so what do you have to say about that?
Well, what qualifies me most relative to my experience, it's my education and the history of my education. K through 9, I transferred schools persistently every year, sometimes multiple times a year. So I very frequently had to assimilate to new friend groups, essentially, and get along with everyone. Beyond that, I pursued 4 bachelor's degrees at the same time and went on to get a master's degree in adult organizational learning and leadership. And it's this leadership function within that master's degree in which I feel we are missing in Congress specifically. In my personal life, I have not seen Congress be very effective. There's usually too much turmoil for legislation to easily move through the process.
A lot of red tape.
Yeah, bureaucracy at its slowest.
There should be less of this, and the only way I perceive there being a path to less divisive politics is with strong leadership. And that leadership is dependent on people becoming knowledgeable as to why they need to make the appropriate decisions at appropriate times. So that master's degree in adult organizational learning and leadership is a cornerstone of what I seek to bring to legislators.
I love it. Yeah.
All right.
I think our populace is far undereducated, even especially the ones with degrees. No offense. I think that you're different. Some of them just got a piece of paper after partying for 4 years.
I do think college is a bit of a scam if not used correctly.
She doesn't agree with Charlie Kirk there.
I do. All right. So our next question comes from another Facebook post. Asks, what policies or programs will you be pursuing to help rural residents, which often are not sharing in the prosperity of the urban areas?
So, from communicating with the Rural Caucus, the 2 issues that are most important to them at the moment involve the dealings of ice and water resources. This year's been in particularly rough with regards to our snowpack, and there's concerns about use of water where we've already declared a drought for the rest of the year, and our farms in these rural areas are desperately struggling to get people to work them. This stems directly from the rhetoric around ICE. A lot of these workers that come to work our farms are migrant workers. They're not U.S. citizens. They literally come up from Mexico to work the fields and return to Mexico after the season. In that process, they contribute billions of dollars towards our economy through direct taxes that fund social services that they'd never make use of because they're not citizens. Um, Unfortunately, because of all of the rhetoric around ICE and what they've seen publicly shown, a lot of these migrants are uncomfortable um, coming north through the United States, even when there's good work opportunities for them, because they don't want to risk being imprisoned and detained. I mean, if they're coming here, they want work. They want to be paid for their time. Um,
There's definitely a thing that I haven't really considered, that even those that are fully legal and are going through the process properly would have a little bit of fear and maybe be turned away from that and maybe seek labor elsewhere. That is very interesting.
Yeah. But it does ask how it would help rural residents. So how, like, what would be the plan to
Good
help?
point. We should circle back. I guess farmers are rural, so
Yeah, people that are going to be in the rural areas, how would that help? Like, what would be a good plan to help them with things that are more in the urban areas? So, for instance, they have a harder time getting to town. Gas is a lot more expensive, obviously. That's not anything that's anyone's control right of this moment in this room. But as far as like getting resources back and forth to them and them, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how.
we need to make broadband services available to them so that a lot of these opportunities are accessible. Another issue is Idaho just cut funding for all of the remote learning programs, in which were essential to these rural committees or communities. So we need to reinitiate the funding that supports these outreach education programs. And we also need to make sure that they have access to those programs by installing broadband and better internet capabilities.
Okay.
No, nationally, that's the opposite of where the education system is going, because we've learned that the current generation is the first generation that's cognitively declined compared to the generation before them since we started tracking it, and the only factor was an increase in technology used in education. So we actually need to get technology away from education, especially the rural kids.
I expressly disagree with that. Actually, I think
Okay.
that
Studies, you should do some
we
research on
need
those studies. I highly
we
encourage
need
you to.
technology in the education sphere,
Okay.
but we need to use it appropriately. Right
I
now,
can agree with that.
it's being used in an adulterated form.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It's it's because the education system, especially since No Child Left Behind was imposed, is focused on maintaining funding through testing.
Okay.
It's not focused on the development of people, it's focused on the measurement of people's development. We need to focus on the actual development of our students, not measuring that development.
How is technology going to help that?
So, the easiest way to address that I see is through motivational factors. People don't do things that they aren't motivated to do. If people are not motivated to educate themselves, they will not become educated. To motivate people to educate themselves, we can capitalize on social media. Many people are addicted to social media in one form or another. So we should be able to flip the script, so to speak, and use social media to help people become addicted to educating themselves. We don't have systems in place that allow for this, but if we structure the education system such that educators are paid to produce content, and then we provide that content at no charge to our public, then people can take it upon themselves to educate themselves at the rate at which they are best able to educate themselves.
Okay.
So rather than stuffing our kids in a school and babysitting them all day and expecting them to magically learn, we provide them with the tools to learn. We motivate them to engage in the learning, and then we just let them be.
So, what would be the guidelines or guardrails of keeping them away from things that are like Facebook and Instagram and things that are going to influence them, like YouTube videos that make them into zombies where they sit and stare at a screen all day?
I'm also not sure if leaning into the dopamine issue is a good thing.
I think we just have to develop the social media systems within the context of the classroom. So it's not a social media platform that reaches beyond that child or student's classroom.
Okay.
It only connects you to the students that are in the room with you. But as you're working your way through your education, you can be like, look, Timmy, I'm really good at math. And Timmy can be like, wow, you're so much better at math than I am, but look at how good I am at social studies. And
Making it more of a competitive zone for them.
I
right,
think we
they
agree
can
on
compete within the realms of the classroom. We don't need to build a social media platform for the schools that extends beyond the reach of that student's classroom or that student's schools. But we need to
How is that going
use
to be
it to
different
help.
than Google Classroom? Because I feel like that already exists in Google Classroom, and my son hates it. He learns nothing from it. It's literally the most boring thing in the world.
This goes back to these motivational keys, right?
Yeah.
Like
But
he's
he'd rather
not
sit with a pen
motivated
and
with that.
paper and have that. Anyways, I mean, I think we agree on the thoughts of how children form, but yeah, I think both of us are very afraid of technology and keep our children away from
Exposing
technology.
them
So
too much
I'm
to
afraid
it.
our bias is being very brightly exposed with
It
this
definitely
one because I'm struggling hard here.
It is.
But I can respect it. I hear some things that I absolutely do agree with, especially with the way that different kids learn differently, and we really do need to lean into different kids' talents.
I do like
Well,
that you have a plan.
we
I do
also
like a plan, yeah.
You do
we
have
also
a
don't want to rely on the regression that we've seen come out of No Child Left Behind because it doesn't
terrible
promote
policy.
it doesn't promote the development of individual skills.
Right.
It promotes
Getting
everybody
through it.
trying to get to the same lowest common denominator.
Right.
Yeah.
And that shortchanges the development and the opportunities offered to
I agree.
everyone.
Yeah. I was that not pressed enough and found myself having all sorts of fun because school was boring and I could have been doing so many better things with my life.
Absolutely.
So I did that.
I didn't take the value of knowledge until I was older, for sure.
That's great.
And if we give people initiative over their own education, they don't have to become bored. If you had all of the tools at your disposal to continue to pursue an avenue of knowledge that you were interested in, you would have just moved on to the next step once you got bored. But you were limited by the classroom that you were in. The teacher wasn't going to teach you the next math class just because you were ready. You were stuck in that class with every other person learning the shit that you didn't have any interest in learning at that point because you already knew
very
it.
pro like accelerated learning and being able to push through if need be and or held back if you need to be instead of getting
going at
pushed
your
through.
pace instead of the same pace that everybody wants you to be.
Right, you get authority over your own education and independence over what you're learning.
Okay.
Rather than having whatever they want to teach you forced down your throat at whatever rate they decide is best. When I was going to college, I was taking between 21 and 24 credits a semester. 12 credits is full time.
Yeah.
So that was a double load. I would receive extreme friction from the administration for trying to push through entire courses in 2 weeks because they wanted to keep me busy for 6 months. But if you're taking 8 classes at a time, you don't have 6 months to be busy on 8 classes at a time. You have a couple weeks to finish a class so that you can move on to your other classes. And like I really hate the concept of having to take many subjects simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier for me to focus on a single subject at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, distributing people's attention across multiple subjects hinders their ability to learn and retain the subjects functionally.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Good opinion. I think so. I do want to give respect to Brian who asked the question, and just to give some of his context, we went a little bit away from I think what Brian originally intended, but that's
Yes.
fine. So Brian wanted to share his hopes with our state with you. He wanted to see more funding for rural areas, reduced taxes for rural residents, revised business regulations to encourage rural business development. So if you end up there, we'd love if you could keep Brian's needs and wants in your mind along with your education plans.
Certainly,
Yeah.
I believe that we need policy that leads to healthy communities
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
around.
Mm-hmm.
If we create policy that marginalizes anybody in our community, we're doing it wrong,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a recent change to our SNAP benefits that exclude sugar as an item,
Mm-hmm.
which at face value sounds like a reasonable choice. But as a type 1 diabetic, I'm aware of how necessary sugary items are for people with certain medical conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it concerns me that there are people on SNAP who are type 1s that might need a sugary candy or a soda to treat a low while they're traveling. If they're unable to address that low because they don't have funds and rely on SNAP, now they're driving a car around just moments away from passing out and wrecking their car into yours or a building or what have you.
Yeah.
I don't want policy that introduces risk to our communities, which means not having extreme policy from either side of the aisle.
But you can still buy things like juice boxes on SNAP benefits. You can still buy things like honey. You can still buy like baking sugar and things like that on SNAP benefits. So you can, if you were diabetic one, you could go and get yourself a juice as long as it's 100% juice. It just doesn't have, it can't have like red
Or
dye or
fruit or
high fructose corn syrup or
Yeah.
anything.
Assuming the location that you find yourself at offers such.
most places
If
have 100% juice, even really gross convenience stores in the middle of downtown Spokane.
think-
Orange juices and stuff you can still
I think it
buy.
would be more reasonable to have like 10% of your SNAP budget able to buy the sugary items
That's a good argument point.
rather
I can see
than
that.
none of it. That way, if I'm a single mother trying to take care of my type 1 diabetic child, I can have a bag of candy that I bought from the store waiting at home for when these events occur.
I can see that
I
argument.
want policies that are flexible and allow everybody in our community to be successful and healthy regardless of the situation they find themselves in.
Do you think we should like draw a line somewhere like Skittles juice or like, I don't know, some of the like very sugary drinks, things that people just absolutely don't need to be buying, like Hostess donuts, for example, or anything that has something that's like over 1,000 grams of sugar in it. Like, could we take those things off the list? Like, we don't allow them to buy alcohol with it, you know.
Our
So
energy drinks, I think at one point they were allowed.
energy
Are
drinks
they
were allowed. I don't
restricted
think.
now?
Yeah,
Anyways, well, yeah. Yeah, I think it gets down to just kind of splitting hairs, huh?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we just don't need to be extreme with any of the policies. I think that there needs to be at least a little bit of wiggle room
Mm-hmm.
on
Or maybe
any
medical
decision that
exclusions.
we're
Sure.
Or
putting
I
on
could see
people.
things like that, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the difficulty with medical exclusions is then there's more paperwork and processing involved. We don't
Suppose.
want to burden the public with
Except, I mean, usually if you're on
expenses.
food stamps, you're also on Medicaid, and then the insurance has your medical records. I think they could easily fill the gaps and take the paperwork out of it, especially since SNAP and Medicaid are so closely tied. But yeah, was there something else that you wanted to cap off with before we move on to the next question?
We can move on. I
Okay.
don't want
I
to
just wanted to make sure I
hold
wasn't
things
cutting
up
you
by any
off.
means.
No,
Oh,
you're
no,
fine.
no. This is a
I didn't want to
podcast.
cut you off.
You could just talk. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I was able to speak to somebody over the phone that had a question, Jamie N. So what plans do you have about the threats to our Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security? We have funded this our whole working lives and should have access to this benefit. And he added some context, knowing that it was our past leaders who put us at risk, but has a belief that it's our current responsibility to fix things to ensure his future generations, he was a bit older, the guy I spoke with, have access to the same benefits.
So I'm very concerned about those benefits. They affect me directly as a type 1 diabetic. There's been changes to needle tips. They are now classifying them as durable medical equipment. So insurance can take up to 6 months to approve durable medical equipment. And needle tips, you use them once and you have to get rid of them, or you risk infection and sepsis. Like that policy change makes absolutely no sense to me at all, because it's just putting people at risk unnecessarily. I am also limited because I am on Medicaid, but there are income limits to stay on the Medicaid. With the insulin that I take, without insurance coverage, it's $1,800 a month. That's
insulin is ridiculously overpriced in America.
my income on Medicaid is limited to whereabouts of maybe $21,000. If I were to get a job making $35,000 or $40,000, but I have to spend $1,800 a month on the insulin that keeps me alive, I will then be making less than I would if I just remained on Medicaid and worked part-time.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that cycle really get people stuck, and
or especially
it's
like
really
moms
sad.
that get stuck in if I work, then I can't have my food stamps, but if I have my food stamps, then going to work is just paying for the food. So it definitely
and daycare
and then having to stay under that limit with daycare and get your ICCP. Yeah, those things can be a real struggle.
So,
so what kind of,
in my opinion, healthcare and education are both public infrastructure, objectively, the same as our roads. If we aren't providing the infrastructure for people to educate themselves publicly, and we aren't providing the healthcare for those people to stay healthy publicly, with a huge focus on preventative healthcare rather than the reactive healthcare that we have today. Like, it's so much more expensive to try and fix broken stuff after it breaks rather than just prevent it from breaking in the first place.
Yeah.
And with the current system, healthcare is focused on fixing the broken stuff instead of preventing the stuff from being fixed. Everybody needs access to healthcare consistently. That way there aren't things that get people to prevent going to the doctor because they're worried about expenses.
So
So
what policies do you plan on, what do you plan on doing to assist that and helping that? I mean, those are definitely, that's what we all complain about.
I need to get on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee at the federal level. That way.
And you have to, once you're a senator, there's different committees that you then have to push your way into?
So when you get elected as a senator, you go you go to the minority leader or the majority leader, depending on what party's leading. And then that leader will assign you to different committees. You don't get to choose the committee that you're assigned to. But once you're assigned to a committee, you have votes that you cast essentially to push things through that committee or to deny things going through that committee.
So that's kind of what allows our Congress instead of to be like kind of compartmentalized, so they're not all focusing on all the issues all at once.
Right, and you're limited to the number of committees that you can be assigned to. So in theory, I could get elected to Congress. They could decide,
Okay,
oh,
so let's
we're
say
not putting you on that committee.
Yeah.
We're going to put you on a
Well,
different committee.
let's say in a world you are on that
Hold on,
committee.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So going back to health and education, when you were talking about like preventing things from happening, you don't want to fix what's already like breaking things just to fix them. Would you be interested? Like, would funding things that would help people learn to eat better, eat right, keep themselves from getting sick before they're actually getting sick and having to go and
Health
get
education.
those medications that we don't, I mean, obviously type 1 you do need it, but there's type 2 that we could be preventing children and parents from getting if we invested in teaching people to actually eat appropriately.
How to cook, how to use whole foods to
Exercise.
make it into a meal.
Yeah.
Well, I like this concept, but I've been to the grocery store in America and I've been to the grocery store in Italy. And going to the grocery store in Italy, it was like pulling teeth trying to find heavily price of oil up. And this is specifically to entrain the US to purchase oil from foreign countries.
Mm.
And I personally believe that it is the influence of foreign countries that have led us to jacking up our gas prices to otherwise convince the American public to purchase more oil from abroad. We have oil supplies, large amounts that we could tap
we
into.
keep talking about that. I'm like, don't let them tell you that the oil's more expensive now because they already bought it 10 years ago.
Yeah, no. We have huge reserves, and I can't agree more about the proxy war. But I do want to touch back on why do we need so many people on visas to work farms? I mean, are those jobs like are there?
Yeah, why can't we just pay farmers enough that Americans want to do that job?
Yeah.
So no, Americans don't want to do that job because you have to go out and work your ass off in the field. And because we pay these migrant workers substantially less than we would have to pay an American to do the same job.
But would it be okay
Also-
to pay
Yeah, I don't
them
really know what
less
you're
to do jobs we don't want to do? That sounds kind of
Well,
cruel in a way.
I know
It
plenty
might
of
sound cruel,
hard-working
but
white boys, by the way. I don't know.
there's another factor. Say we hire the American people to do the job.
Right.
Now the American people have to do the job.
Mhm.
They have to pay their taxes on their income doing the job.
But shouldn't the foreign workers be paying taxes
And
on
now
doing their
So
job?
the foreign workers
do.
do pay
They do.
taxes.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The foreign workers
Mhm.
go back to their countries after they're done doing the job. They don't make use of any of the social services that those taxes pay for.
Yeah, but they also
The-
don't spend their money here either.
So it
Our
doesn't boost
Americans
our...
would actually
Well,
spend their money
they do.
here.
They do spend their money
I
here.
know plenty of
They have
migrants, and
to.
I talk to them personally. I have friends that literally send money back to
Oh, yeah.
Venezuela.
But they
and-
still have to eat.
Well,
You're
yeah,
telling me
yeah,
that
but
they do
I'm
not
saying,
go to the
yeah.
restaurant down the road and
Yeah.
pay the restaurant food while they're
Yeah.
here? No, they pay things while they're
Yeah.
here.
I guess we're just both. You just keep going back to the same exact issue. We're talking about local housing costs. I just still don't understand the connection because why can a 20-year-old today not buy a house like I did 10 years ago?
So, with housing, there's not proper infrastructure building the housing, right?
I know
Like-
plenty of construction workers that are literally doing different industries because they want to work and there's not enough houses being built because there's not enough people buying houses right now where we live. So why are houses still expensive? Do you know? You might not know.
Well-
That's fine, but
I anticipate that it comes from the houses being bought up by individuals and then wanting to profit.
I suppose.
From the houses.
I mean, yeah.
So for a long time, I blamed Idaho's government for the fact that our house rates are so high because we let so many people from other states infiltrate,
Mhm.
buy our houses for like a couple $100,000. They sold theirs in California for almost $1 million, if not more, and come over here and buy a bunch of houses and flip them and then sell them to us for like $700,000. So I think there should be like a policy in play there where they can't come in and buy houses off our backs, basically.
Yeah.
It makes it like really hard to buy a house here. It's more Californians that buy houses.
Yeah,
than it is.
like even our president that everybody hates has already passed policies to protect corporations from buying too many houses. Granted, 500 is way too large of a number.
Yeah. And his 50-year plan was not a good idea.
But why couldn't we do something on a state level in Idaho? Not on a federal level that you're having to lobby on these things, but in Idaho, where you are one of 2 people who makes decisions in Idaho.
Well, at the state level, I actually have no power as a federal senator. The
Am I
state
totally not
government.
understanding the government right now?
So
What is our local government, though? Who makes decisions at our local level?
the state government does. There's a state Congress and a state House,
Okay.
and they operate the state government. This is completely separate than the federal government.
Interesting.
They're
Well,
separated.
I do know this, actually. Things are
So
clicking.
so there's a federal government and there's a state
I
government.
guess I just assumed
The
senators
federal
played
government
with
does
both.
not control the states.
Mm-hmm.
The states are sovereign. They govern themselves, right?
Right. Separation, yes, yeah.
We're
The 50
united.
divided, but yeah.
So as a federal senator, I can affect federal legislation. I cannot affect state legislation.
Just on a personal level, why wouldn't you run for something more local and affect like your homies locally? Just on a personal level, I don't know.
Well,
You don't have to defend
I
yourself.
was
I'm just curious.
I was initially approached to run at the state level, and I chose to run at the federal level. And I want to be at the federal level because of the issues involving healthcare and education and labor and pensions are all controlled
Okay.
at the federal level through the Help Committee. Because health and education are so dear to me or close to me,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
that is why I am motivated for the federal
Makes sense,
position.
okay.
I would rather fix every school in our country than try and fix the one school that I graduated from.
Okay.
It's I am incredibly frustrated
I'm a
by
little annoyed by our education system for totally fumbling that connection for me, though, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like they had us, like, write letters to our senators for state and local issues. Why were we writing them letters? Why did our teachers have us write them letters?
I feel like I still get told that as an adult. Like,
Yeah.
send a letter to your local senator if you have a problem with this.
But they have no control over our stuff.
But they-
Wow.
well, there's a disconnect between
Clearly.
senators
Yeah.
at the federal level and senators at the state level.
Clearly.
Yeah.
We are
There's-
definitely always advised, like, this is your state senator, that's your representative. That's who
Yeah.
I've always sent the letters to. That's who everybody says to. I'm
So
so
there's-
mad right
so-
now. My letters went nowhere.
So there's a number of different legislative districts,
Okay.
right? Each one of these legislative districts has a representative,
Right.
a
So I
senator.
knew about the smaller. I just, for some
Yeah.
reason, didn't make the connection. I really thought that federal senators had more to do with our state stuff. That's the only bit I know about the other breakdowns, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
but
just
I am
perturbed by the thought that our senator that we're electing does nothing to do with state laws, just
Well,
federal laws,
and-
which is awesome because
I was gonna say clearly Christopher does too, because that is a very
Yeah.
statewide senator question.
So Nadine was wondering, it's not necessarily in line with what you're passionate about. It is with what I'm passionate about, which is weather modification. So she was asking, do you know of or have plans to implement bans on things like chemtrails and cloud seeding, similar to recent laws passed in Florida, which we've now learned you wouldn't have control of that in a Senate seat. But she was led to believe by state legislators claiming it is a federal issue that they have no control over. So, knowing that you'll have a federal control potentially, do you know of, have any worries about that or plan on pushing federal bans?
So I have difficulty giving a discrete answer to this question, relatively speaking,
Okay.
because I feel like there is a lot of information that it will not be available to me unless I am elected as a federal senator.
Okay.
And without having the information before me, it's difficult for me to understand the impact of decisions
Okay.
in that field. Like, if it's a matter of national security and I am somehow undermining our national security by cutting funding or cutting initiatives on such, then I feel like I need to be more in the loop before making
The
decisions.
same could be said about immigration policies, yet you're very loud about that. So, do you not care about our environment at all?
Oh, I care about the environment very much,
So, what
especially
about
with
our
regards to our water.
very weird winter that we're having of no water because other people are cloud seeding and taking all of our water?
Well, generally speaking, a lot of the water falls out of all of the winds coming from the Pacific Ocean as it crosses the Cascades.
Yeah.
By the time you
And
get
for
to
some reason,
Montana,
that
there's
weather
almost
pattern
none.
has stopped this year.
We do
And
have far less water.
and I'd love to see there be positive changes, but I do not know what sort of
Okay, but I
facilities or
do.
weather
And it is
manipulation.
not national security or secret. It's on federal government websites. We are tracking cloud seeding. It is a legal requirement to report that you have cloud seeding, where you did, at what time,
You
and
even
for
have
how
to-
long.
You even have to like ask.
I can
beforehand.
access that reporting system right now. As
Well,
a citizen, you can too. So it's not secret. Cloud seeding and weather modification is happening. It is affecting our weather patterns. It is why we don't have water in Idaho. It is because they're making California wet.
Mhm.
It is because they're moving water back east. They're giving blizzards to Minnesota for some reason. They're
Michigan.
really mad at the Midwest right now, and they're trying to put everybody down. I don't know. I'm the conspiracy theorist here. Don't blame him for this shit.
Yeah.
But this is all very real. I have done a lot of research. This is like basically like 50% of our podcast episodes have had this topic. So, with this new information, if you have any control, do you have concern with that? Is that scary?
I mean, anything involving weather is concerning.
Okay.
So
If
I
you have any
find-
control, will you
I find the
do
fact that
something?
we don't have 2 feet of snow come October, which I would generally have expected as a kid.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not just like, oh, wow, we got 2 feet of snow. No, like,
Yeah.
I was sure I was going to be trick or treating in the snow. That was guaranteed,
Yeah.
right?
Farmers
Like,
Almanac
no
told
doubt.
us. They've never been wrong.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
so changes in our weather systems, I find to be very, very concerning. Where I find
It just concerns
powers
me
to adapt things there.
that anything national security could turn you away from a mission to protect our ecosystem
Well,
and our natural weather pattern. I think
my
those
my
policies
mission is to
have to be
protect
put in place regardless of national
our
security.
communities. If it's going to endanger our communities
is.
directly,
Do you know how they're
then
doing it? Do you know the chemical that they're putting into our atmosphere? It's silver iodine.
I
We're breathing it in. It's getting onto our plants. It's making our plants not be able to absorb as much sun, so they're not growing as well because they're coated in this shit, so they can't photosynthesize as properly. This is a problem.
so the other issue here is I don't know what committees I will be
Yeah.
put on
I
at the federal
understand.
level.
But you'll have
I-
buddies and you'll be rubbing elbows. I
Well,
just
the-
want to know that
the-
you're going to
the-
be listening
these are
to
the
your
goals.
constituents.
They
Are
can-
you listening to your constituents in front of you, or are you going to turn your back on me, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I have no interest on turning my back
Yeah.
on anybody.
This is
But
a very important issue to me and many other citizens.
where I am going to have power and authority is going to be dependent on whatever committee I end up
We've
on.
established that, but in the
So,
hypothetical area that you
I
have
need
some
to-
power.
Well, then I will certainly make whatever is in the best interest for Idaho.
Okay.
Whether that be
I have to make fun of you
eliminating
for that very
program?
political answer, but
I mean,
Can I add a question?
yeah.
And obviously we'll like edit this part out. and
No,
you can
keep
ask
it
me.
in, darling.
so like
God, is it all just a popularity contest? I'm really not liking this.
It seems like if you even when you cast your vote, then it goes through one layer to the next layer and that layer, and then you have one or two representatives saying what everybody wants at one time. I feel like that could get very
so
water washed.
say you get your policy through your Senate committee
Mm-hmm.
and a bill gets made that bill still goes to your governor at the state level
Anybody else
or
got
your
schoolhouse
president
rock rolling?
at the national level, and the governor or the president can either sign that bill into law or let it die.
Right.
Right.
Of course,
So-
how a bill's passed.
Yeah.
That's just
We're just there's been
in
a
awe,
disconnect on educating the public on how that
Yes.
actually all works.
and we're just a
because
little in
we're not
awe of how like long it takes. Like you were saying in the beginning, a lot of red tape, a lot of like
Yeah.
steps, layers, and it's no wonder nothing ever really feels like it gets done.
Well, everybody's opinion is so diluted and meshed and mixed. It's just a yucky, mucky brown that's been diluted with water by the time it gets somewhere.
Yeah. I'll probably explain all the arguing on Facebook all of
Wow.
the time.
This has been so much more insightful than I expected it
Yeah,
to
we've
be.
learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from me too. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
I-
thanks for getting through the process. We know. We thought we knew everything about podcasting a year ago. We've learned a lot too.
And we learned
So
that
I'm
we-
sure you've been forced to learn a lot like us.
Yes. Kind
Huh.
of thrown
But
in.
I have no political pedigree at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I just like, hey,
I can vouch for that. I
There-
knew him personally once upon a time.
like, hey, they're screwing shit up, and it pisses me off.
Yeah.
And I'm educated. I feel like if I don't do something about it, then I'm wasting the wonderful opportunities that my education should be used for, right? Like,
Okay.
if I let my communities get thrown under the bus after those communities supported me in obtaining my education, it's like I'm doing a disservice to the public, right?
Yeah.
I'm not running or making myself a public figure because I want to be a public figure or for financial gains of my own. I'm running because I feel like it's my duty to protect my communities and make sure that those communities and people around me can maintain healthy and productive lives.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely respectable to go into something just to want to change the way things are. It's
really
kind of what
impossible.
Mandy and I did, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit of the impossible, but it's definitely doable. You gotta have enough.
I know,
guts.
I haven't watched your other podcasts, but I think that you
Oh,
guys
you're
do
on
a
it
wonderful
now.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not
on
job.
it.
another podcast. It's the only one. You're here.
But no, you had other episodes and
Other
I
episodes,
missed
yeah.
them.
I was just being.
She's messing
I'm
with
a
you.
jerk.
Nobody inferred this. You're just giving us content.
Yes. Okay, well, I've got one more question.
I don't know,
Do
we
you
can
wanna
turn it
skip
into
this
two
one?
if we try
Oh,
hard
that is your
enough.
I
question.
bet we could.
She's got one more question.
I do. And
It's a
not.
bit spicy, so
Oh, I didn't finish reading this one, so.
within reason. We know that you might not be put on committees, you might not have, but just you're gonna have feelings about this one. So if you had a chance, what are you gonna do about?
Just personal opinion, think of it that way, I suppose. An anonymous Facebook comment asked, why do our judges let these PDFs back on the streets?
Which we're far enough away. That actually means pedophiles. We're far enough into the YouTube video.
Oh, are we?
PDF is kind
means
of the YouTube
pedophiles
term.
But yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Anyway.
Sorry.
I think it was meant, so we think it was meant rhetorically, but basically what we want to ask is, how would you strengthen our laws, or what is your opinion about strengthening our laws to protect children from monsters roaming the street out to hunt them, attack them? Just overall opinion.
So I think this mainly relies on developing structures to ensure that there's appropriate background checks to people in industries that otherwise have access to children. The best example I can think of is from my own life, and that is here in Idaho, there's opportunities that shouldn't exist. For example, a counselor that got his license taken away from him in California over child sexual charges. Simply moved to Idaho and continued their practice.
Yeah.
At which point,
Yeah.
both me and my brother, as younger children, were taken to his office for counseling. So,
I'm so sorry.
like, I don't think that we should allow professionals who have lost their licenses in other states, especially for misconduct, to continue practicing here in
Absolutely.
Idaho.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, 100%.
At the federal level, hopefully, if I was able to create such legislation, it would make it to where losing your license in any given state would make you unallowed to practice throughout the country.
Cross-state
I don't
list
know.
of sorts.
Yeah.
Cross-reference type system.
Just blacklisted in general.
Because
I agree.
if I lose
100%.
my license as a counselor for molesting some kid in California, I shouldn't be able to move to Idaho and continue doing that.
Yeah.
That seems insane. If I'm a surgeon, and regardless of what kind of surgeon, maybe I'm a cosmetic surgeon, and I botch my boob job, I shouldn't be able to go to Idaho and botch more boob jobs.
Yeah.
That's
totally agree.
unacceptable.
Yes.
Like,
100%.
if you can't do your job right, you shouldn't be allowed to do the job.
Right.
And so that would be one way. I'm sure that there are more ways.
No, that's an incredible answer.
More brainstorming to do, but like,
I
No,
really,
great
really
start.
appreciate that answer. That is, I think, the deepest I've gotten to know you tonight, Nick, and I really appreciate that. I respect you and trust you a little bit more, to be honest.
why would you want people who can't do their job doing that job in your community?
Absolutely.
It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well,
I have one more.
do you have one more?
I do.
How exciting!
My father, actually, his name's Mike.
Oh, yes, I read this.
So he wants to know, as a small business owner, how do you plan on protecting local business owners from outside corporations blocking improvements and opportunities to expand? And I know that you might not be given these opportunities to make these changes, but he's dealing with this currently over zoning due to large subdivision. They need a bigger pump house. It's just, they're getting in the way of otherwise developing smaller stuff because they got a job 10 years out that's giant, so we can't do it now. Anyways, long story short, yeah, how do you plan on just kind of helping small businesses, I guess federally, if you get the opportunity, since you got so much power as a senator?
Or
Well, I'm really frustrated with a lot of large business and conglomerates, especially with regards to healthcare. United Healthcare has vertically integrated everything from our pharmacies to our doctors to the whole system is vertically integrated. This should save them incredible amounts of money on the process. None of that is passed forward to the consumer.
Yeah.
With regards to small businesses, I feel that large businesses like Amazon and Walmart need to be taxed appropriately such that the money being pulled out of those communities is put back into those communities that it's pulled out of.
Yeah.
If you're going to move into my state and start extracting money from my communities, I need to see my communities having that money put back into them. Whether that means increasing wages for your workers or supporting transportation or other social needs or services. I don't know exactly how that needs to be worked out, but I disagree with the extraction of money from our communities without somehow paying it forward to that very community that it's extracted from.
Now, I don't know if this is something that you'd be a part of, but would you be like willing to be, of course, you're a very transparent person, but I feel like a lot of funds, especially taxpayer funds, are not transparent enough.
It's
We
very
don't know where we're.
misappropriated.
Yeah, and then when we do find out where our money goes, everyone's like,
It's gone.
move on, it's gone. We sent it to some group in Belize
And
to
we're
get
gonna do it again. Ha!
Aha, yeah.
You know?
So we need consistent audits with any sort of
Okay.
program involving the transfer of funds.
Mm-hmm.
There's been huge issues in California with homelessness funds being provided to different servicers of sorts, and those funds just being gone.
I've seen
Well,
interviews with
there's-
homeless people where they're like, "Hey, how much money do you think has been spent on you in services over the past year?" And they're like, "Oh, like $50." Like, what would you say about the fact that they say that it's about, well, I think it was like 70,000 a year
Yeah.
per homeless person, and they're like, "Huh?"
Well, there's taxes that have been, especially not so much in Idaho, but in other states specifically, that have been attacked by like huge tax fraud, like the daycares
Yeah.
that didn't have any
Mhm.
children in them, the home health services that didn't have any old people that they were taking care of, no CNA workers, no employees, no, like they're closed, they're locked, you can't even get inside
So
the
it sounds
building.
like you'd want more people like feet on the ground, maybe even the leaders in their states even going to their own places and doing their own auditing. I feel like you seem to be of that opinion.
Yeah.
Not that that's logistical possible, but
But
I would like to see that
that'd be
too.
great.
So
I
yeah, more
think-
audits. I like that.
I think there needs to be essentially a whole nother sector created just for auditing, and that it should be a
Okay.
public sector that is publicly funded and publicly maintained, just the same as our healthcare and education and roads should be, right? Like, does it suck that we'll have to pay people to go and do audits out of tax funds? Yes. But is that going to cost more than seeing all of the money that we see thrown away or disappear? I don't think so. I think we can pay someone
I almost like
full time to audit, and
Yeah.
we'll save money, because I would rather spend the money on someone doing a job and provide a job for somebody in a community than I would see it be stolen by a billionaire that doesn't need it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah. All right.
save
Well,
money or spend money to protect money.
yeah, it's to protect money. I love that.
and spending money is important, because when you pay people, especially those with lesser and lesser income, that money gets passed forward,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like,
The community is
if you only have $30,000 or $40,000 at your disposal, and you're spending all of that $30,000 or $40,000 to live for the year, you are producing more GDP than someone who has gotten $30,000 or $40,000, stuck it in the bank with all the rest of their money and forgotten about it.
That's true.
yeah.
Spending more money in the economy definitely boosts and builds the economy for sure.
So rather than allow big business or conglomerates to shelter money from the public, we need to be disseminating it at any opportunity we have to disseminate it. That means using tax dollars to pay people to do social services. We use our tax dollars instead of paying senators. I would gladly not take a paycheck and have my teachers paid for, have my firefighters paid for, have my police paid for, have auditors paid for. That way money isn't being lost or stolen. And pay these people enough that they can contribute $1,000 a piece to my needs as a senator to protect their interests. Like,
Henry-
my goal isn't to isn't to make money. My goal is to make sure my communities are healthy and supported. If that comes at the cost of my paycheck, that's not a concern to me, because as long as I'm doing my job, those communities will not let me starve.
Right. Yeah. Henry Ford once said, the reason I pay my workers so much is so they can buy the cars that I built. So, the structure is there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I see that. So,
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
Nick, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Like something,
anything like
I get to
platforms
share
that you're
stuff.
running
yeah,
with?
anything you like.
Is that anywhere that they should go, follow,
Oh,
important dates?
I would love it if they followed me on Facebook. I believe it's 007 Bonds.
We'll put the link down below.
There's a website that's 007bonds.vote. I need
When are the primaries? When
the
can you go
primaries.
register?
So you can vote early beginning April 27th, and the primaries are May 19th.
Nice.
I am in desperate need of support because from the numbers that I'm aware of, I will need between 40 and 50,000 votes to get through these primaries.
Okay.
And I don't know if enough of the Democratic Party alone is going to show up to provide those 40 or 50,000 votes.
Let's get
I
those
want
independent voters out there.
Yeah, let's get the independent. The
I mean,
middle
I
ground.
didn't know that I could vote, so I'm sure there's others.
I just found out I could vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other Republicans that thought that it was
Mhm.
you can't go and vote in the Democratic.
Get into
primary.
the Democratic primaries, get you a Democratic representative that will actually represent your needs in case they beat the Republican.
Well, and guys, it's just our job to go vote. That's the whole point of a democracy. You have a say, so go vote. Go give your opinion.
Yeah.
and I will be showing up in our Idaho communities, especially between now and the primaries, to make sure
do you
that
have any events planned specifically soon?
I will be in Moscow at the Lincoln Day dinner location on Saturday.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay, so yeah, for our TikTok live viewers, we might not have the YouTube posted by then, but
yes.
I'm sure there's
Lewiston.
Oh yes, there's an event on the 28th in Lewiston in which I will be attending, and there's an event on the 24th in Lewiston.
Oh wow, okay.
That I will be attending.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
23rd.
Oh, 23rd. On the 23rd in Lewiston that I will be attending.
And the 28th.
Do we know what those events are called?
Spaghetti Feast at the Lewiston Community Center.
Okay, there's a spaghetti feast at the Lewiston Community Center that I will be at.
Yeah.
And you'll be serving.
Oh, that
I
sounds
will
like
be
you'll
serving.
love that.
Yeah.
You're gonna love that. I can tell.
Yeah. All right. Well, wonderful. And we'll post all that down below. We can post Nick's links and stuff so you can go check him out and see where his other events will be taking place. And go down and vote.
And if you guys decide that I need another interview with you, then bother these two.
Yeah.
And they can bother me.
If you want to know
Nick
more,
back?
just let us know.
Yeah. If you
we'll
have
drag him in.
if you have other questions and you've done your research on his specific job in the government, would have actual specific questions, we can narrow it down a little bit.
I know. I feel that I misunderstood like what powers he will have.
I know.
I almost underestimated it.
I did too. I was like, oh, it's a small seat in the Idaho, but you have a much bigger seat you're going for. So
exciting.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For those of us that are here that are our viewers, keep challenging that bias.
Yeah, and keep an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out.
Till next time.
And this is where you say good night.
Good night.